Hello to all my virtual learners. I wanted to go through what we did in class with this Otter Game activity. So what we did was we looked at river otters that are carnivores and they are opportunistic feeders. We learned that they prefer crayfish and fish, but really they are generalists. They'll eat snakes, frogs, any other available food that they can get into their bodies. Otter fur is very durable and warm and was highly coveted by early American settlers. As a result, river otters were almost hunted to extinction in the early part of the 20th century, before trapping was regulated. By 1930, the population in Missouri was estimated to be only 70 otters. In 1982, the Missouri Department of Conservation began restoring otters to the state from elsewhere. Officials released about 845 otters over an 11-year period. The release program was highly successful. River otters' numbers rebounded in Missouri because by the year 2000, the population was estimated to be nearly 15,000. So this lab is reviewing carrying capacity. So as top level predators, adult otters require a certain density of prey species to survive. And they also have a lot of habitat needs and other resource requirements. So the number of otters that this ecosystem can support, remember, is called the carrying capacity. Since otter populations in Missouri are still growing, which means they have not reached the carrying capacity, their populations are still being managed by regulated trapping. Why would they regulate trapping after they had all of this population rebounding going on? Well, it's because they already have high enough numbers to cause property damage to those people living in Missouri. And there's also enough otters to allow for trapping without causing a threat to the population. So basically, in this lab simulation, we had 4 different activities. In the first activity, we had one otter that had 15 seconds to gather food. And so we had these cards that were laying face up on the table, and it showed a variety of foods like frogs and invertebrates and crayfish. And they were all worth different points, I guess you could say, but really different pounds of food. And the person that was acting as the otter had to try to gather 60 pounds of food in 15 seconds. And so we had a little bit of regulation with this. We didn't want people just to scoop up the food because otters don't inhale their food that way. Instead, I wanted the students to kind of grab one piece of food at a time and put it in a pile. So it was a little bit regulated. So one group, after completing that activity for the one otter for 15 seconds, they were able to gather 97 pounds of food. In the second simulation, we had 2 otters that also just had 15 seconds each to gather food. One person that was acting as an otter in that simulation was only able to gather 21 pounds, while as the second otter could gain 83 pounds. So we could see that just introducing another otter to the situation, and there's a little bit more competition. So one otter was not getting enough food. In the third activity, we had 3 otters trying to get 60 pounds of food in 15 seconds. In that particular group, we had one otter that was able to get 84 pounds. The other 2 otters were only able to get about 35 and 36 pounds of food. So we can see there too that 2 of the otters are just not going to get enough nutrients, but we have the dominant one in the population that's able to outcompete and get enough food. So we would think, if one of these otters were trapped, if we trapped that dominant otter in the population that got the 84 pounds, then it would be a lot easier for the others to be able to get the needed food. In the last simulation, we had 2 otters, but we polluted the water. And they had 15 seconds to gather food. And in this case, we had one otter that only was able to get 20 pounds of food because there were no crayfish or fish, and those were giving the most poundage. So that one otter got 20 pounds. The second otter was able to hit just right at the 60-pound mark. So we can see that there is a lot of competition for food within the population as you introduce more otters. If you're trapping some of the otters, it's going to give more availability of food. But on the flip side, if you're polluting the water, it's going to be hard for everyone to be able to get food. All right, so I have 6 questions in Canvas for you to answer just based on what you've learned from the notes, the video, and through the activity that I just covered with you. So if you have any questions, just send me an email. Thanks. Bye.